I'm here at TCAF 2015 with the super cool box brand. How you doing today?
Very good, very good. Really nice day, and very happy to be here.
Yeah, such a great crowd.
It's like one of the best taste-wise, I think one of the best educated crowds as far as comic scenes go.
Well, then let's talk about wrestling.
Sure, anytime.
So you do this great wrestling comic about the life of Andre the Giant, and it's very much a biography. Was he a figure that really influenced you in your youth?
I love pro wrestling, and that was something that was very big to me from like a very young age. And it was always kind of like my personal thing, 'cause like my dad did not care about it at all. Like it was just, or nobody, it was like one friend kind of, but I was like very into it. Like I have like a obsessive and compulsive personality, so I was like obsessed. And Andre is in wrestling. He is like such an iconic figure. He was before they had a Hall of Fame. It was just Andre, the Hall of Fame, And but his story is so tragic. Like he was only 46 when he died, and to me that was what struck me as like what would make a really good story, is that he had so much, and yet he lived in pain and had trouble fitting in and died very young. So sadly, but he lived life to a grand degree in the time that he had.
Almost like a larger-than-life giant?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go there.
Well, it's true. I mean, like, the things about him are so unbelievable, like the true stuff, that it's like the real stuff is legendary, and it becomes this. It seems exaggerated, but it's not though, because he is an actually exaggerated human being.
So is that sort of what inspired you, that, all these years later as an adult, to go back and take that time to make this comic biography of him?
Well, really what started it was this weird thing that happened in pro wrestling after kind of like the year 2000. Okay, so before then, there was this idea, a notion of kayfabe. So like, if somebody asked a wrestler, is it fake? They would deny it, deny, and the curtain was very much up in front of, between what was real and what was not. And then at some point in the 90s, that started to break down, and then with the internet, it kind of broke down more, and to the point now where it's kind of just like an inside joke. Like everybody knows, at the shows, they play their role, they suspend disbelief willfully, but it used to be like there was people in there really buying it all, So anyway, once kayfabe fell apart, all these wrestlers started doing interviews where they were opening up about the real stories behind their lives. And so this was really fascinating to me, because all I saw was the stuff on TV. And which is, thinking back on it, is like, there's no logic to some of this stuff. Like, why didn't this guy just disappear? And then you find out, it's like, oh, that guy got arrested in 1987 for coke, and that's why he wasn't on the TV for like 6 months or something like that, So getting all those inside stories, and also the way that they talk, is they have this thing called carny, they call it. It's like it's like this inside lingo that they'd use to talk to each other around people like us, so we wouldn't know what they were talking about. And now people do, and it's just so funny. Like, I remember the first time I heard a wrestler refer to, like, Dr. Evil in Austin Powers. He called him the heel of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That like blew my mind. It cracked me up so hard. I'm like, oh yeah, you could use wrestling language in reference to real things. And then that whole notion was fascinating to me as well. So that's a big part of the Andre book too, is like.
Yeah, I know, and I really liked reading it, feeling like I got in behind the scenes, and you explained a lot of these terms, and it was really interesting. Well,
I was going to say, like, all the things in Andre are just all the things that I found fascinating in his story. So there's more to his story, but this is like my impression of Andre.
That was sort of going to be my next question.
Okay.
Was something with so much material like this, and with something you've admittedly said you're obsessed about,
Sure.
How did you decide what was going to go in the book and what was going to get cut?
Well, basically, it's just, the things that stand out to me are what I think will stand out to other people. So it's very much just like, I found this story to be particularly compelling, and this one maybe not so much. Or maybe sometimes things just don't translate that well into comic form. I don't know. It's the same thing when I do with myself, my publishing. When I'm an editor, when I work with Retrofit artists, it's very much just like, these are the people and these are the types of things that make an impression on me, and I kind of just use myself as the guinea pig for other people. So if I like it, I figure other people might also like it.
Well, I did, and now it's available in French, which is super cool.
Yes.
So I'm gonna switch hats and ask you about Retrofit Comics, because
Okay.
you just brought that
Okay,
up.
cool.
So how did it come about? And you were like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna start publishing.
Well, here's what happened. I was self-publishing, right, and trying to make it work financially. And I was like, man, if I could just I was working really fast, and I could still only put out like 6 issues a year. And I was like, well, if I could work faster and put out 12 issues a year, I could live off this. But then there's no way I could have done that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I know a lot of cartoonists. Maybe if I apply this whole thing to other people. Anyway, it was kind of a get-rich-quick scheme that totally failed. But I found that it was...
people in comics being really rich by making their comics.
Yeah. So, but I really enjoy the being an editor and working with other artists and getting to know their process and things like that. So it was kind of working and kind of not working financially, because I thought I knew what I was doing business-wise, but then realized I don't really know anything about it. And so I ended up hooking up with Jared Smith from Big Planet Comics in Virginia, and they actually have 4 locations. They've been around for a really long time, and Jared wanted to get into publishing, and we ended up working at a deal where I kind of I'm the editor now, and Jared handles the functioning business aspects of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so now you guys can both work to your strengths and
Right.
produce better stuff.
And he's, very much always thinking about the things that I was like, maybe thinking about, but then being like, that's going to be too hard to do. And it's hard to manage a lot of all these different things at once. But, it's very much ideal for me, and Jared seems to be hanging in there. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what kind of process do you go through changing yourself from the artist to the editor, and do you sort of wear different hats for that and adopt a different mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of when I'm making comics, I'm making aesthetic choices all the time, and you're deciding what you think looks the best or reads the best or whatever. And editorially, that's kind of similar to what you're doing. You're kind of picking out the things you think are being done in the best way. I like when I draw. It's very much just like, this is the thing that I do. Like, this is like showering, whatever. It's like, you get up, you draw 4 or 5 hours, you go take a walk, you draw a couple more hours, and then people all day send you stuff about their Retrofit comic, and then you look through all the Retrofit stuff at the end of the day, and it's just like fills in all the gaps for me. I can't sit still ever, so I'm happy to be working.
Yeah, and it's also sort of nice to, when you're working on a creative project and you sort of hit a wall or you get that writer's block, to have another creative project to go to and sort of refresh yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely good to have something. Like when I'm working on a graphic novel, like the Andre book, you get 100 pages into it and you're like, geez, I'm not even halfway done with this. And it's just like page after page after page. You become like a factory almost. So that can be kind of monotonous. So it is really good to break that up with other. It's easier for me to break that up with editorial duties than it is for me to break it up with working on another comics project at the same time.
So are you working on another big graphic novel at this point?
Yeah, I'm working on a book that will be out in probably fall 2016, hopefully. That's about the video game Tetris.
Ooh, is this another sort of like nonfiction?
Yeah, it's
Nice.
with First Second Books. It's about Tetris. I'm about a third of the way through it now. It's the Tetris story is a crazy one, and there's a lot of like weird tragedies in it, and but I very much wanted to use Tetris as a lens to kind of portray video game makers and designers as artists, and the way they should be, because video games is like an extremely vital art form around the world, and it's a really immersive art form that can be used to do anything. Like the way comics seem like you can only make superhero comics, but it's a medium you can do anything with, and I think video games are the same thing. And so I want to focus on what it's like to be an artist and make an amazing piece of work, and then it gets taken away by, or not taken away, but it gets out into the world via this whole business thing going on too. Yeah. So
Cool.
it's just very about that kind of.
We'll look forward to it. What do you have out right now from Retrofit Comics that people can check out?
Okay, so I have a book that I just put out that's a collection of zines and some new stuff called An Entity Observes All Things. It's a sci-fi science fiction. And then we also have a bunch of really great stuff. This book called Mowgli's Mirror by Olivier Schrouwen, who's a Belgian cartoonist living in Germany right now, and it's an amazing book. I don't even know how to explain it. He uses these printing techniques to get images. And Sea Urchin by a great artist named Laura Knetzger, who me and Jared think that this is our best book we ever put out. No offense to all the other Retrofit artists, but we always think that about the new thing. But we really feel very strongly about this book, and also a book by Kate Leth that is a comic guide to tattooing.
Oh, you guys publish that?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So we always have all new stuff coming throughout the year.
Awesome. So, where can regular people, find you online, and also how can retailers get in touch with you guys to carry your stuff?
Okay, so we have a couple books in Diamond right now.
Nice.
You can get our stuff on Comixology. You can find us at retrofitcomics.com, and my stuff personally at boxbrown.com. And you can find contacts to all of us. Please, if you have any questions, email us. And we're on Twitter too, and Facebook and stuff. So.
Sweet. Well, thank you for taking the time today to answer my questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.